If you want your online course to be the go-to in your niche, today's episode is for you. Today, I'm talking with Jasmine Jonte, a true expert in online course creation, who's helped some of the top names in coaching, consulting, and speaking develop courses that really stand out. Jasmine's here to break down exactly what makes a course impactful and memorable for your students and actually gets them results and makes them want to complete the whole thing. So if you're ready to learn what it takes to build a course that students absolutely rave about and that keeps them coming back for more, stick around. You're listening to the Online Course Show, where we dive into the strategies and tools that help you build a thriving online course business. I'm Jacques Hopkins, and over the past 11 years, I've built a successful online piano course that's generated over $4 million. Now I'm sharing the lessons I've learned along the way. Stick around so you can build the go-to course in your niche too. All right, I'm excited today to dive into today's conversation with Jasmine Jonte. Jasmine is a course creation expert. So the course part, she doesn't do much with the funnels and the traffic. She's all about let's make the best course possible. And when I say best, that is completion rates and that is results, people actually getting the outcome that you are promising them. Now, she has spent this past several years helping consultants, speakers, and other professionals build courses that truly engage and transform students. She knows what it takes to make a course the best in its field, and she's here to share her top tips in structuring content, creating clear action steps, and designing a course that students genuinely enjoy and then recommend to others. So you're about to hear real-world strategies and examples for your course and making it stand out, deliver results, make it super engaging, and so on. So whether you're just starting with your first course or you're looking to take what you've already built to the next level, I think Jasmine's insights will help you create a course that becomes the choice in your niche. Let's go ahead and dive into that conversation with Jasmine Jonte. Hello, Jasmine. Welcome to the Online Course Show.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Let's start very generically. Who do you help and what do you help them do?
So we help professional service providers, experts, authors, speakers, coaches. We help them build online courses, online programs. So we're a done-for-you agency. So it's similar to ghostwriting a book, but instead we ghostwrite online programs.
So you wouldn't help like somebody who doesn't even have some sort of presence already, like complete beginner. You're helping establish people that maybe just don't have courses in their, what's the word I'm looking for, in their arsenal yet?
Yes, they're usually business owners of some sort, whether that's like a consultant who does a lot of speaking or, CFOs, therapists, all kinds of different people who have a business and they want to add an education arm to what they do. So usually they're an expert in their own regard, but they just haven't done anything in the education space yet. And so we help them. And then, along that line is we have many people who are established and who have courses already, and they come to us to improve them. So, kind of those are the two main types of folks we support.
In general, why are you seeing people need your help and not doing it themselves?
Yeah, for the people who are just getting started and putting their first program out there, they come to me and they say one thing, right? Which is always how it goes. They're like, I just don't have the time, because many of them are booked out one-on-one, or, they're traveling around the country speaking or whatever it is. And they want their program to be of a certain caliber, and they just don't have the time to do what it takes to create a really excellent product. And so they outsource it to us so we can just take on the workload for them. And I think what's underneath that is they know that they don't have the skill set of teaching, because they know that just like copywriting is a skill and sales is a skill and whatever expertise they have is a skill in of itself, teaching that is a whole other skill. And it takes time and energy and reps really to get good at it. And so we get to come in with our expertise, which is teaching, and provide that for them. So it's two things. Usually it's, hey, I don't have the time to do this. And it's also, it's not that they don't have the time to do the work, but to learn the skill that's required to do the work well.
Yeah. So are you suggesting that the expert is not even the one ultimately in the course videos?
No, they're in the course videos. But essentially what we'll do is we'll interview them and we take any free content they have, books that they've written, assets, content assets. And we'll write video scripts, we'll build slide decks, workbooks, we build the online portal, like the whole end to end. So what it looks like for the expert is we interview them, we produce those assets, we send it to them for approval, and then we work with them to video record everything. So it's very much like all they have to do is what they're good at, which is show up and answer questions of someone like us, and then they get to show up and record it.
With the people that I work with, a lot of times they don't necessarily struggle as much with the course creation part because that's the area that they're quote unquote an expert in. And they need more help on audience building, sales conversions, marketing, all that good stuff, right? So if you're coming in and just helping people with the courses, how are they able to actually sell it if that's the only piece you're helping them with?
They're usually doing that in some regard. So like, for instance, we've got some who license to companies. Let's say they're a consultant and a speaker and they speak at Microsoft and Apple and these big companies. That's great. They can go do their keynote. We build their course and then they license that to companies. Some of them have their own audiences and they're doing podcasts or YouTube. They have their own free content and now they're selling this to their audience. Others, we build programs that are more of part of like a high ticket, high tier offer, group coaching program, mastermind. And this is just the content training element of that offer. And again, like they work with their network and their one-on-one referrals and they get that out there and they sell it. So, I'm like great at giving feedback and consulting and reviewing sales pages and things like that, simply because I've seen so many courses and I work with people in all different kinds of niches and industries. But we don't actually do any of that work. We're really focused on how can we provide the most amazing program so that everyone, all those students, they watch the training. We get really great repurchase rates. We get really great referral rates. And we have them like as soon as our clients put out anything else, the entire audience base wants to buy everything, a second and a third time. So that's really what we focus on more than the front end conversions. Yeah. So I think, did that answer your question?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I'm all about like carving out your niche and whatever that is. And your niche just happens to be like in the course creation space and you've settled in on the programs themselves because that's the area your client needs help with specifically. And that's what you can help them with. So that's amazing. You mentioned helping them create amazing programs that get results and all that. I mean, let's go there next. Like, what does it take? What does an amazing program look like?
I think it comes down to knowing who the ideal client is and what an amazing program looks like for them. Because we have some programs we've done that are for audiences in their 60s and 70s. And believe it or not, we split tested. I have different clients and friends and colleagues I know in the space that work with this population. And split test, if they could have the CDs, like the CDs and DVD pack, or the online program, or both, what would they prefer? And many of them just choose the CDs and DVDs. Like, I kid you not. Today, 2024, that's what people are choosing in that bracket. So most people would say like, oh, why would you ever do that? Well, that's what that ideal client wants. So why wouldn't we do that? If that means they're going to buy the next program, then of course that's how we're going to deliver it to them. So I think, it all just comes down to that. There's no like hard and fast rule that if you want to create a great program, like this is what needs to be included. It's all about who's your ideal client and really what's the learning experience that they're going to enjoy the most and that's going to empower them to take that information and turn it into action.
Sometimes I'll talk to people that started in like 2006.
Yeah.
And they'll talk about how they started with DVDs and how to transition to online courses. I don't hear too many stories about people doing DVDs today or CDs. My audience for my piano course is 60s and 70s as well. I didn't know that it was going to be that way. I've certainly had people request DVDs. I don't offer that. One thing I do offer is when they buy a certain level, my top end package, they'll get a physical package in the mail. And one thing we include is a flash drive with the course on the flash drive. Mm-hmm. And they do love that. A lot of times it is for people with unstable internet connections or live in remote areas. But that's so interesting that you're still advising people to go DVDs even today. That's probably more the exception, I'd have to
It's
imagine.
100% the exception. And I don't advise that at all. I'm like, talk to your people and see what they want, like test it out, right? And 100%, that's the exception. That's a very, very small part of the population. But it just goes to illustrate the point that what you see someone else doing might not be the best thing for you, right? Like we all see the Porterfields of the world and we're like, I want my course just to look exactly like that. When at the end of the day, that might not be the best thing for your student. So knowing them and then creating the best learning experience for them is really the end goal.
That is totally fair. But are there common things that are like more hard and fast rules? Like we've got to do this, we got to do that, we got to do that pretty much across the board that you've seen?
I would say you want to meet people who have different learning styles. So we've all heard, video, audio, kinesthetic learners. So meeting each of those in whatever format you're using is really, really important. And I'd also say, kind of back to the same point, is getting feedback from your students during the journey is really important. Most people wait until the end to send out a survey. When I'm all about sending, not even sending surveys, but dripping in moments for them to communicate and collaborate with the expert so that you can continue to improve the journey over time, right? So just two short, simple things, but video, auditory, kinesthetic, make sure there's some kind of, or visual, auditory, kinesthetic, make sure there's some kind of visual aspect for them, make sure that there's some kind of listening aspect for them, and then kinesthetic, which the simplest way to do that is just give them an opportunity to take notes somewhere. And then second piece would be ask them questions about their experience, about all elements of their experience earlier on in the program. I'm talking like end of module 1. Get some feedback.
I have a notebook here in my hands right now. I'm taking notes as we're talking. What do you mean by give them a place to take notes, like inside the core platform?
Sometimes it can be in the platform. Sometimes it's a PDF that they can print out. Like you said, you can send them a physical mailer of, the PDF workbook where they can take notes. And if you don't have those resources or that capability right now to like design a whole PDF workbook, then simply giving them a structure to take notes is going to help them. Like most people think you tell your students take notes and they're going to know how to do that or what that means. And they usually don't. So to say, hey, I want you to get a journal, just pick one up on Amazon. And, every day when you're listening to me, I just want you to write things as they come. And at the end, I want you to star the most important thing. That's so simple. It took me 10 seconds to say, but just giving them that a little bit more hand-holding for what's the process they should go through during your program to get the most out of it. So note-taking can be like lots of different ways, but more than anything, it's just really paint a clear picture for them of what the best practice looks like from your perspective.
So those are some things that you would definitely consider including. What about on the other side? Like, what are mistakes you're seeing? What are some things that people should definitely not do when they're creating a course?
Yeah. The biggest one is creating content that's not actionable. There's a lot of experts that are used to giving information without clear direction on how to apply it, because the information in and of itself, yes, is valuable, but where it really creates transformation, as we all know, is in the action and the implementation. So at the end of every video lesson, you want to very clearly spell out, okay, here's how to put this into practice, and here's what the definition of done is. So for instance, if we were doing a podcasting course and one of those things was to get your equipment, it wouldn't be like, okay, here's everything I use and here's what you can use and here's how all this works. Okay, go. It would be, okay, now you need to go get a microphone. You need to get, your recording and, software, and you need to get a ring light. And here's the Amazon links to go get those things. Like very clear, very specific. And many experts, they know so much, they have trouble sifting through all of that knowledge to find really what is the most potent action steps to take. But doing that work before putting your course out there is what's going to help your students get the most results. So more than anything else, create very clear, simple action steps with a definition of done.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's something I definitely, I fell into that mistake for a while and not being clear in that area with my piano course specifically. And one thing I do now is not only do I, recap what we went over and give them homework, like here's how we apply what we learned so that you can make it second nature. But I also say, and then here's exactly where you should be, like what you should sound like before I'm giving you permission to take the next lesson, right? So do the homework for however long it takes to sound like this, and then you're ready to move on. Sounds like you would agree with that approach?
100%. Yeah.
It took me a long time to get there. I'm on my 6th version of my piano course.
Yeah.
When do you think it's time to update a course that you've worked on?
I would usually look at 2 things. One is student feedback. What's the common themes you're hearing from students in their feedback? But I would also consider the expert and how they've evolved, because as you get better, you want your program to get better. And what I find is for my clients where there's a wide gap between where they are now and where their course is, meaning they've evolved a good bit and their course just hasn't had a chance to catch up, the sales really suffer. And it's because the expert no longer has that same confidence and excitement about their product because they feel like it's not good anymore. So, it's looking at, again, what is the student, what's their experience? What are the results that they're getting? What's the feedback you're receiving from them? And like yourself as an expert, and how do you feel related to the product? And there's data, there's data as far as what the students are telling you and the results that they're getting. And there's data in terms of your sales numbers and saying how much could this potential gap be affecting those sales numbers. I think a general rule of thumb is you want to update every year, but you don't have to update the whole thing every year. So maybe that's 10% of your program every year. Maybe that's 15% of your program every year. It just really depends on you, your students. And also I'd say probably third element here is what's your niche? Like if you're teaching social media, you've got to update that puppy a lot. But like if you're teaching something like, I don't know.
Piano?
I'm thinking, yeah, something that's tried and true, piano. How much do you have to update that? I don't know. Maybe not so much after you get to a point where you're really rocking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely niche dependent, but it's based on those other factors too. Obviously, I mean, my presence on camera, between version 1 and 6, like just I've runtime now, right? I'm not amazing at it yet, but like I'm so much better than I was. Like I've gotten better, more comfortable on camera. I've gotten better equipment. I've listened to my students and applied the feedback that they've gotten. Like I said, the first version, like I wasn't even saying, I don't think I even gave homework. I just gave them the information, right? And assumed they would apply it properly. Okay, so I went on that tangent and I wanted to go somewhere next, and I think I lost it, but we're going to pick up somewhere else. A question that I get quite a bit, I'm sure you get quite a bit as well, that I want to ask you. How long should my course be?
Yeah. As short as possible while getting them the result is like the guideline answer. I usually see these kind of break points with programs. The first break point is what I call a micro course, or some people call it a mini course. It's usually 60 to 90 minutes of runtime content, sometimes even less, as little as 45. And you're getting them a micro result. These are usually programs that someone can sit and binge watch one time and do the work and get the result. And like, they don't have to come back to it again. Like it's just something you get done quickly and move on. The next one is what I call like a signature program. Usually you'll see these selling for $997, some kind of webinar funnel or something like that. Those are usually like 4 to 5 hours of content. It takes longer for someone to get the transformation and result from that. And then there's like this next tier that I have only built in things like specific real estate investing strategies, business acquisition programs, like really complex programs that just have a lot of nuance and a lot of what if scenarios. And those are usually like 8 to 10 hours long. So those are like the 3 break points that I'm seeing and I've seen pretty consistently for the past 4 years, I'd say. But like the guiding post is as short as you can make it while still getting them the result.
Yeah, I agree 100%. What I was going to ask you earlier while we were on that topic is if you have any preferred software to host a course on.
I don't have like one particular one that I really I like use more than others. I'd say there's so many out there. And again, it's like, what does your student need? But also, what does your business need? Like, everyone thinks about picking a course platform from a student perspective a lot of the time. And I'm like, you got to look at this like a business owner investment, like pick the platform that's going to allow you not just to serve your students, but to grow your business, because almost all of them now, like the actual client experience looks exactly the same. Like Thinkific does not look that different than Teachable, does not look that different from Kajabi. That like they're kind of all the same thing. So you got to look at all the other business features and see, okay, what's your tech stack right now? Where are you growing in your business? What do you want your tech stack to be for where you're going? And then making the decision from that perspective. Yeah, I'd say like that's really my answer. You got to look at that from a business owner perspective. What do you think? Do you agree?
Well, you answered that question without having even, well, I guess you threw out some things that look similar. I think that it's fun to geek out about those things, and I do have preferences. However, it is not nearly the most important thing that you need to be doing in your business, right?
No.
However, I love talking about it.
I mean, I can nerd on it too if you want to go down that rabbit hole. We can seriously nerd out on it. I think
there's good ones. I think there's bad ones. I made a mistake of going with a WordPress solution a few years ago with like Learn Dash and Buddy Boss. I liked the idea of it. It just was way too many headaches. I've been on ClickFunnels and currently I use Kajabi in school. And so I think that school is doing some really cool things. It's becoming more and more popular. The only problem with school is you have to have like community and live events for it to make sense, because you can't take away those tabs. And they don't do video hosting either. So I'm actually hosting my videos on Loom and then embedding those into school, because I can do that for $15 a month versus Wistia's like $100 a month.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I like School and Kajabi. Those are my favorites right now. But I'm not going to like not work with somebody if they're on another platform.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'd say 60% of our clients don't have a platform when they come to us, and we help them navigate this decision. And like I've done 4 different, course platform choice recommendations for 4 different clients in the last 3 weeks. And one, I recommended Experienceify, which I don't know if you know Experienceify, but they're all about like gamification. And we're doing some really, really robust, like choose your own adventure strategy with her. And it was like, Experienceify makes the most sense. Like we got to do that. I recommended Kajabi to another who's like an expert and really just needs an all-in-one expert platform. That's why I personally am on Kajabi as well, because it allows me to host everything I need in one place. It's great. And then I recommended Customer Hub to another, which is really known for like onboarding systems. And so it's great for this person because they had both a lot of like one-on-one clients coming through, and then they're layering on education. And so it helps streamline not just like the education arm of her business, but also the client delivery system for her one-on-ones as well. And the fourth, I don't remember. So it's rare that I give the same recommendation to multiple people just because everyone's business is different and needs are different. But yeah, I think that there's a lot to be said about this idea of it's not the most important choice you're ever going to make. Like, so the worst thing that you could do is just delay making the decision. Just make a decision and move forward. I
agree. Yeah, I agree with that completely. Yeah. So like for me, like people listening to this audience, people I work with are typically more solopreneurs and just kind of have want to have one simple business and have as much in one place as possible. So my default recommendation is Kajabi. But it sounds like, for you, like you're typically working with business owners. They probably have teams already. They probably have this and that all over the place. And a lot of times they just need like a LMS, a learning management system, to have their course. And they already have maybe some funnels or some landing pages and website and things like that elsewhere. They probably already have an email list. So they don't necessarily need the all-in-one and probably aren't interested in moving all of that over. So I could see how our recommendations would be quite different for those use cases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about piracy? If a client of yours is worried about their course getting stolen and resold somewhere on the internet or put out there to download, what is your recommendation when somebody's concerned about piracy?
Disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer. However, I have worked with my lawyer who specifically works with course creators. And so what we do is first we do take we recommend that they take the legal protections that they can, because even just putting in the legal protections is sometimes enough for someone on the other end to be like, maybe I should think twice about this. Right. And so that's as simple as think about, your slide deck. You have a copyright at the bottom of every slide, and then your workbook. And at the bottom of every workbook page, there's a copyright. And you can submit those to the Copyright Office. You submit one application with your slides and one application with your workbook. And now you are actually protected. So if you see that work somewhere else, you can, I think cease and desist is like the right word. I'm not sure if those are the right legal terms, but you can actually have, you have a little bit of firepower versus just saying it's a copyright without any actual backing on it. I also like to put and there's some more you have to do that. There's also like a copyright page you can put in the beginning. I've talked to a lawyer about it for sure. But I also think that energetically, like when you say on your actual trainings, when you have them sign a contract, when you actually have them look at a terms and conditions, when you do some of those things at the beginning of your program to say, hey, this is meant for you and no one else, it just creates an awareness in the student's mind of like, oh yeah, like she knows that people copy and reproduce work. She's telling me that she knows that that's a thing and that I shouldn't do it. And there's elegant ways to do that, but I think it's finding the right way depending on the brand and the voice and the expert and who they are, but not being afraid to talk about the elephant in the room. Everyone wants to pretend it's not a thing with their students, when if you're just upfront with them and you're like, hey, I know this is a thing. This is meant for you. It's only meant for you. Please don't share it on the internet. If you do, make sure you use my tag or whatever is the boundary that you want to set. So to recap, talk to a lawyer, make sure you actually have your legal protections in place, and then, address the elephant in the room with your students. They can handle it and they'll probably respect the hell out of you for it.
Hey, it's Jacques here, jumping up, interrupting the conversation with a quick message for those of you who are serious about building your own online course business. If you're working to make your course the go-to in your niche, then Genesis Courses is designed to help you get there. It's my step-by-step program to build, launch, and grow a successful online course that really stands out in the market. So if you're ready to take your course idea and turn it into a profitable, impactful business, head over to oc.show/Genesis to learn more and apply today. All right, let's get back to the conversation with Jasmine. Let's jump back to a big, broad question.
Yeah.
How did you get into this?
How did I get into this? Well, I have a background.
I feel like I delayed that as long as I could.
That's okay. It's cool. So I have a background in teaching. I'm actually a music education major, believe it or not. And after going to music education school, I went to Detroit, Michigan, and I taught in the lowest performing school in the country. So my background is in education. I am a teacher. I come from a background of teaching. When you're teaching in that sort of environment, you learn very quickly how to make learning simple and fun. And when I came into the online space, I realized there's a lot of experts out there who are just real. They know what they know, but they don't know how to teach what they know really well because they don't have the reps of teaching under their belt. It's nothing that they did wrong. It's nothing that's their fault. It's just they haven't done it before. And I was inside of programs that I spent, I remember this one, it was like how to market your program. It was a marketing course. And I paid like $7,500 for it. And I got in and it was just so bad. And I couldn't believe this dude was making, 8 figures a year. It was what he was marketing. He was making 8 figures a year. And his program was so bad. And it just like felt so wrong to me that all of me and then all of my peers who are spending our hard-earned money on this program are just we're being successful with the program, not because of the program, but almost like in spite of the program, because it really just wasn't that great. So that's how I got into this teaching background, and then saw the state of teaching in this industry and thought I can do better.
Why did you go down the route of done for you? I mean, if you see this problem, you want to start helping people, we could do it yourself, course on courses. We could do some sort of done with you, and you went done for you. Why is that?
I love the satisfaction that comes from both creating relief for my clients, like really true relief, like they can trust that it's done and they don't have to worry about it and they don't have to figure out another thing and they don't have to learn one more thing. Like, it is handled. We got you. All you have to do is show up and shine and be in your genius zone, and we can stay in ours, which is developing really awesome learning experiences. Like, there's a lot of satisfaction that comes from that. I've done with you. I have a DIY mini course. And just comparing the experience of done for you with those two, this one I find so much more fulfilling and rewarding. Though I'll be honest, like running an agency has a whole other set of challenges that are often more challenging than my done with you or my DIY offerings that I've had in the past. So at the end of the day, it's just a more satisfying, rewarding experience personally. It's like I like to fulfill on it better.
I want to talk about kind of trends in the industry. And to start, I want to ask you, I've heard people talk about how just like info products in general are more dying, and that the community is what's more important these days. I know specifically I've heard Pat Flynn talk about that. What are your thoughts behind that stance today?
I think they're both important. I don't know if one is more important than another. I think it's who you talk to. Like me, for instance, I've plenty of programs I'm in just for my own personal development. I almost never engage with the community. Like, it's just not my thing. Like, I've got my people. I'm in a couple mastermind groups. That's where I find my community. That's where I find my people. Being inside of a group of 200 people inside of a course, it's just not my thing. It's not my vibe. It doesn't actually help me. The information, the content, however, I'm able to go through on my own pace and like, I will get it done, right? I can stay accountable to myself. And I know friends of mine, they're the complete opposite. They would say like they come for the community. They love the community. They love learning from other people's posts in the community. It's like what lights them up. It gets them excited, but their course completion rate is like 15%. And they're satisfied and thrilled with that. So I don't know if I have an exact answer for you on like, I think this is more important than that. Again, I think they're both important. It's who are you attracting? Are you attracting the person like me who's like, I don't need this community, just give me the information, let me, run? Or are you attracting more people who are about the community? And I also think it's about what's the result you're trying to get for folks. If this is something that someone can put into play and get done in 90 days, then I'd say the content and the training is more important. If this is a skill that is developed and honed over years, then I'd say, going with more of a membership type long-term commitment is going to be better to help people get that result. So yeah, I don't see a black and white. It's very gray here. What's your take? What do you think?
Well, to your point, I think everybody's different. And it's hard. Like in general, we have commonalities among our ideal customers. I mentioned, for example, my piano students in general are older. In general, they took piano lessons when they were a kid, hated it, never stuck with it. It's always been on their bucket list, always regretted not having actually learned, have a piano sitting around in their house. In general, those are some things. But to your point, some people like the community and engage in it. Some people don't. Some people like the live Q&As, some people don't. Some people like some of the bonus courses and some people don't. So I like to have, kind of like you said earlier about, different style of learners, audio, video. I don't remember what the words are. Some people will engage with the content and the things you offer in different ways, or will use some things and not use some things. So I think it's important to offer multiple things, but not too much to where it's overwhelming either, like finding that line. So I think in general, a community is great to have, but not be like all up in your face to where you have to use it. I think including some sort of live events at least, maybe once a month in general is a good thing. I think having some way to reach out to somebody for help, whether it's you or the customer support person, some kind of way for help, whether it's email or Voxer or something. I think in general, those things are good. But for you and somebody who's focused on helping their clients make the courses, like, is that even an area where you advise people? Like, are you advising people on the offer? Like, what all should be included? Or are you just staying in your lane of the course?
I will advise on offer. They usually come to me with it, I'd say like 65, 70% fleshed out. And then we're just filling in those gaps, especially related to content. Like, for instance, if they know they need bonuses, after we do course outline, we can very easily decide like, oh, we can pull out these elements, these 3 really juicy resources or nuggets or whatever. And we can name those a bonus on the sales page. So some of that related to support, which all of these things you mentioned, right? Like live events, Q&A calls, live, whatever that is, email support, Voxer support, all of those support things, I like to get to. I try to call it Goldilocks content, which is exactly what you're alluding to. Not too little, not too much, just the right amount. And I think a lot of that comes down to giving the students permission to use the support that works for them. Like, use the support that supports you, and the rest of it, delete. Like, don't worry about. Which can be done in the very, very beginning welcome video of the course, where you're just like, hey, we have so many different options. I want you to use what works for you and what's going to keep you in momentum. Because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, that you're in momentum on your way toward this goal, whatever the goal is. So yeah, I'll advise, and I just advise based on what I'm seeing working in all of my other clients' programs, based on who's the ideal client. Like, for instance, this one ideal client program is for, moms who are trying to parent kids under 2. And this is for moms who are trying to lose weight with kids under 2. Same client, different results. What's working support over here is probably going to work for support over here. Yeah.
Interesting. And I like what you said earlier about when we were talking about like which course platform to choose. You said, it's really got to work for you. Like, people prioritize what's going to work for our customers, but it's got to work for you as well. And I think the deliverables are very similar to that too. We think about what's going to work best for our customer, but they absolutely have to work for us as well. We have to find that line. One exercise I like to do, and I don't think I've brought it up in this podcast in a while, but since we're talking about it, is I like to just take a blank document or blank piece of paper, and there's just 2 sections: what I like about my deliverables, what I don't like about my deliverables, right? And list those things out. And it's an exercise people don't really go through. They just like assume they need to be including something in their deliverables. Like, people will include one-on-one time with them, or live group calls, or, text support. Like, you can text me anytime, right? Just because it sounds great. But if you really list out what are all the things in your offer, what are your deliverables, but categorize it by, here's what I like, here's what I don't like, and then make a plan to phase out, outsource, systemize something for the ones you don't like, you'll be a much happier course creator, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Or just simply eliminate. Because you're right.
Yeah.
It's like, is this working for you? But also, is it really adding juice to the offer? Because if it's like a 5 out of 5 adding juice to the offer, but a 1 out of 5 I like it, then you're right. It's like, we got to keep it, but how can we mitigate it? And there's other things out there that are in the offer that it's maybe a 2 out of 5 adding juice to the offer, and it's a 1 out of 5 you like it. Well, then just eliminate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I brought up trends. I want to ask you about AI.
Okay.
what are you seeing? Like, are you using AI, any AI tools? And where do you see that affecting our industry here?
Yeah, we are using AI tools. We're mainly using ChatGPT. We use some image generators and things like that, but mainly ChatGPT. And we're using it as a creative thought partner. We have like a lot of content that comes in from our clients. Some of them have multiple books, 100 podcast episodes. So it's an opportunity for us to load up a GPT with their content and interview that GPT. So with just their content. So we're not asking the internet anything. We're just connecting with things that they've sent us before. And it just allows us to process information more quickly so that we can then create really great deliverables and resources for our clients. I've seen lots of different, AI tools out there for like course outline generators, and if they're just not good. Like, I have some of the best prompts ever, and if you're not feeding it information first, it's just it comes out with the most generic, boring, basic content that has no energy, no juice, none of you in it. And so I think it feels like an easy button, but it actually ends up making things harder when people start there. So, is it good for some things? Absolutely. And I think if you're using it on the wrong things, or if you don't know how to use it, like if you don't know how to create a good prompt, or you don't know how to feed it information, or then it's just going to make your life a lot harder, because people are starting to put out products that are just bad. And, if we look at what's happened in the last few years, 2020, a bunch of creators who were offline came online, market got flooded, more and more creators, cool. AI came out, more and more products. Okay, cool. But now the market is like the people, the audience that we have, they're more sophisticated. And so they can see a good program versus a bad program. You used to be able to get away with it because it was totally new and nobody knew what good from bad looked like. Well, guess what? Now they know. They know good content and bad content. So if you put out anything that's substandard, you're going to get referral or refunds. You're going to get chargebacks. You're not going to have people buying the rest of your stuff, which is really the lifeblood, I think, of a creator business, is not just an audience, but having an audience that keeps buying from you over and over and over again. If you put out bad products, they're not going to do that. So yeah, long answer short, I think great tool when used wisely and appropriately. But it's a lot of people are out there just using it to put out a bunch of programs really quickly, and they're just not good programs. However, the pro to that is the cream will rise to the top. I think if we double down in the next 3 to 5, if you come through this next 3-year cycle and you're still a creator and you don't give up and you just keep at it, you will be part of the cream that rises to the top, because anyone who doesn't actually have the grit and the true expertise is going to fall by the wayside.
Why is that? I'm not tracking with you. What is it about the next 3 years where people are going to fizzle out?
I think it's just there's been such a low barrier to entry. And so more and more people are coming in, which means now the market is more sophisticated than it was in 2020. Well, 3 years from now, that's 3 more years of sophistication they're going to have. So once they get to 3 more years from now, they're not going to want to learn, I don't think, from brand new newbies, because there's going to be more experts who really planted their flag and claimed their space. So if you're going to plant your flag and claim your space, do it now, because 3 years from now, you will be the person. But yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah. It's an interesting perspective. I mean, I started a long time ago. I planted my flag in the piano education space 11 years ago. But, COVID was great for my piano business, right? Because so many people were staying at home. Finally, they had time to learn piano. But so many people also, as you know, created online courses and online businesses. And so I have so much more competition in the piano education space than ever before. So I see these young bucks coming in trying to take my market share, and I planted my flag a long time ago. But maybe they'll fizzle out and I'll still be here in 3 years.
Because they're dealing with, okay, they're coming out the first time with all these other people. They're never going to be where you are, because as soon as they get to where you are, they're just going to be where you've been. But meanwhile, there's a bunch of them who've come in at the same time, and they're not all going to be able to make it. So I think it is a thing, you can't time the market or whatever, but I think, yeah, the sooner you get started and you just take no for an answer and keep at it, like now is a really important time to do that.
Right. And I think ultimately what you're saying is that it's really, really, really important. Like, you're not saying don't start now. You're saying it's really important to be awesome and to stick with it. Like, those two things are more important than they've ever been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sounds easy enough.
If only it's easy in practice, hey?
Yes. I did get a question from a podcast listener recently saying, like, hey, Jacques, I'm in a niche where I don't necessarily want to show my face on camera. Do you think that I can use, like, there's an AI tool I can use to be the, basically the spokesperson for my brand? So given what you said about AI, guessing you're thinking we're not there yet either.
We've done that. I mean, we've built programs that are avatar based. If in the specific use case of he's transitioning out of his personal brand into a more business based brand. So he doesn't want to be the face anymore for various reasons. You can do that. It's just, I think people want to know who they're buying from now. They want to know who the CEOs of companies are. This is why personal brands are huge, bigger than ever. So I think it creates new challenges if you're choosing to not be the face of the company, and if you don't want to have a face of a company, because there still is a face. People are still going to look for it, even if you're not, open about it. So again, I don't know the specific use case for this person, but can you use AI to do that? Absolutely, you can. I just don't know if you want to.
Yeah, that's fair. So look, Jasmine, I'm going to go with kind of a cop-out question here as we are starting to wrap up. Because you seem to have, a wealth of knowledge here, and I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Like, is there anything that people normally ask you, or something like you enjoy talking about that's of value that hasn't come up yet?
I have a lot of people ask me how do I get to 7 figures? Like, they're a six-figure they're a 6-figure business owner, or they're 6 figures in what they're currently doing, whatever that is. And they're like, what do I need to know to get to 7? Like, I just don't know why I'm so stuck at 6 or low multi-6 or whatever. And I'll say the biggest mindset difference I see in my clients who come to me and are 6-figure course creators and 7-figure course creators is 6-figure course creators see their course as the offer. They have an offer, and they see the course as the offer, and they think of themselves and identify as a course creator. My 7-figure clients come to me and they see the course as an asset that they can leverage over and over again to build any offer that they want. And they don't see themselves as a course creator, and they would never call themselves a course creator. They call themselves a business owner. And I think it's really, really important for people to hear, because some people are like, I want to get to 7 figures, and I have to have the hard conversation with them of like, but do you really? Like, is that the lifestyle that you want? Because it is a distinct lifestyle between my 6s and my 7s. My 7s, again, they see themselves as a business owner. They don't want a lifestyle company. They want, more. They're really building more to an empire. And they want things like TV shows and companies, and they want to have a big team and a lot of employees. And it's just like it's a different energy. And so I think that's really important to bring to the conversation. I'd love to hear what you see because you have clients in both of these spaces as well. But to help people really discern, A, is that really what you want? And 2, how can you start, if it is, how can you start to work on the identity of seeing a course as an asset that you can leverage over and over again as you build your business, rather than just becoming a course creator?
I totally didn't prep you for that. I put you on the spot there, and you did great. That was awesome. That's really interesting perspective. Once again, like our clients and potential clients, like while similar situations with course creation are quite different. So for me, what I see is that getting to like six figures does require a lot of grit, a lot of hard work, a lot of work ethic. But to your point, like the things that you did to get to six figures are rarely the things that will get you from 6 to 7 figures. And so at a point, we have to shift from that grit and work ethic that got us there to more systems thinking, automations, and outsourcing to get us there. Because almost every case for my people, they want to remain more of a lifestyle business, right? And that's why they get into it to begin with. It's rare that somebody wants to like build an empire like what you're talking about. But they want to, make enough money while working not as much, willing to put in the time at the beginning, but not forever. So I would say that's the biggest distinction is sometimes people will try to grit their way to 7 figures like they did to 6, and oftentimes doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that as well.
Jasmine, been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me. If somebody would like to learn more about you and your work, potentially work with you, not with you, get you to do the work for them, where would they go?
Our website is Cre8tion Co. It's with an 8, so Cre8tion.co. I'm also on Instagram at Jasmine Jonte.
Thank you, Jasmine. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
And that's a wrap on today's conversation with Jasmine Jonte. I hope you found her insights valuable. We really focused on the course itself in this episode. I really love, most of her advice. I think it's speaking directly to figuring out exactly what the student needs in terms of keeping them engaged and getting them ultimately that result they're looking for. And it's not always just about having great content, but it's a great experience overall that really resonates with your students. If you want to check out any resources or links mentioned in today's episode, head to the show notes at oc.show/250. And remember, if you're ready to build your own successful online course business, then Genesis Courses can help get you there. You can find out more by going to oc.show/Genesis. That's my more beginner coaching program where me and my team walk you through the whole process step by step, even if you're starting from absolutely zero. Check it out. You can learn more and apply. Once again, it's oc.show/Genesis. Thank you again so much for listening. And don't forget to take action on what you've heard here today. I'm rooting for you.